Awesome. Hello, hello. How are you tonight, Jeremy?
I'm super excited. This is great. I love chatting with you, Jessica.
Same. You're like one of my favorite people. I love your wife also, for the record. She is super cool. I love Sherry.
It's
But as
pretty
soon
good.
as she's pretty awesome. As soon as I met you, I was like, there's something very special about you. So I think you better get into your bio first. Like, tell us all about you and all of the things that you do in your education, because I think that really tells us a little more about who you are.
So I started my career as a lobby security officer, and I ended my corporate career as a CEO. And I just did this. I had ADHD when I was a kid. I've still got it, obviously. And I just kept piling success on success on success to prove to myself and the world that I could really do something because school is hard for people with ADHD. And so I got a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and I have a license to practice therapy in California. I got an MBA, and that's when I got into corporate leadership and all of this. And since I've left corporate leadership, I've gotten a certificate in psychedelic medicine from the California Institute of Integral Studies. And I'm currently studying under Masadi, who does something called exponential intelligence, which is frequency work. And I
Oh.
do coaching, really individualized special plan coaching for people who are working on trying to accomplish the next stage of their life and they feel stuck, they feel overwhelmed. And I use these many years of therapy and leadership and these things that I've built through a lifetime to help people who are struggling to stay focused, to move forward in their lives, and to reconnect with their own spirit because
Mm.
sometimes we can get really drained.
No, I love that. Well, and I think that was one of the first conversations we had a couple years
Yeah.
ago. I was asking what you did for a living, which is such a lame question to start off with. Like, what do you, that defines us, right? That defines us. And you had said something to that effect, like that really defines us. And I'm looking for this purpose, like what our purpose is, not just our identity through what we do for a living. So, could you speak to that and kind of what your coaching focuses on in finding purpose rather than just your identity with making a living?
Something's happened in our civilization. This is something that has gone on for a really long period of time where men, particularly, and now obviously women, become defined by their living. And it's
Uh-huh.
almost for women like they're not accomplishing their full destiny if they don't have a corporate career, which is, of
Hmm.
course, obscene. It's an obscene perspective to have because we are all so much more than that. And so, what happens with our civilization that has walked away from community? We don't engage with our neighbors as much as we did.
Hmm.
Our civilization that has hyper focused on materialism, on your status in various
Hmm.
different, very kind of linear ways, we tend to stop seeing ourselves as whole people,
Hmm.
as and we kind of get stagnated because we're not getting where we want to be in a linear
Hmm.
fashion, and we stop recognizing what our actual value is. Now, what I help people do is to first start by recognizing what your value actually is,
Hmm.
going deep into, these things, these roadblocks, these things that we told ourselves all of these years, that we're not good enough for this. We are some kind of an imposter for
Hmm.
that. A lot of people are feeling that sort of thing. And to reconnect with the things that are actually real about them, the real value of the person. We work on the personal life, which is our sleep, our health, our
Hmm.
relationships with our significant others in our community, our professional life, which is, whatever it is, from like corporate to our entrepreneurial self. What is it that we actually want to be? What do we want our career to have been over our lifetimes? And then our spirituality, which has become oddly kind of synonymous with
Hmm.
religion, which it's
Hmm.
not.
It's not. It is not.
Right. Yeah,
It
yeah,
shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
and specifically with people who are dealing with, mental health issues,
Hmm.
anxiety, depression,
Hmm.
ADHD, spectrum, these things. A lot of mindfulness practice can really ground you back in your body to know who it is that you are. And of course, so much of modern issues with mental health are a problem with nutrition
Mm,
and
ugh,
exercise.
amen. Uh-huh.
So getting all these things back on
Uh-huh.
track are really what I do to harmonize people's lives and so that they can start actually going for specific written strategic goals, and I hold people accountable to who it
Mm.
is that they want to be.
And how do you know if somebody is right for a coaching, a spot with coaching with you versus therapy? Or are you do you do that simultaneously? What does that look like and how do you make that determining factor?
Yeah, the coaching and the therapy are in two like quite different worlds. And so the
Okay.
therapy is about, somebody comes with a real profound, specific issue. I have
Mhm.
these terrible nightmares from this trauma that I had. I need to process this. I have this anxiety that is keeping me from being able to engage with women or with
Mhm.
men. And something that is a really an acute mental health related issue that needs listening and really love and care. That's a therapy thing. And
Mhm.
I also do ketamine work with
Okay.
psychedelic work on that side, which can be incredibly effective. Somebody who's looking for coaching is somebody who is looking holistically in their life to be held accountable,
Mm.
to really find that meaning, to maybe each one of us has some mental health things that are kind of
Amen. Yeah.
working. So I'm qualified to discuss those sorts of
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
But the coaching, if you want to kind of think of it this way, the coaching looks now and forward. The therapy looks now and backwards.
Mm. That's a
Okay.
good analogy for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the coaching, I don't love the word aggressive, but I'm much more aggressive with people
Uh-huh.
because it's much more of a we're going to work together for a short period of time and we're going to get you there. And this is the clear path for you. It's very prescriptive. Where the
Mhm.
therapy is much more um, compassion and listening and skills based work.
Mhm. And what does an average length of coaching look like?
Really 3 months
Mm.
is a really good period of time because you're building that relationship. And then of
Mhm.
course, like we can obviously continue and so forth.
Sure.
I do 30-day relationships with
Uh-huh.
people to really get like a strategic plan written for them
Mhm.
and so that it's based upon somebody's budget and so
Uh-huh.
forth, but get it all kind of like written out so that they're like, okay, I know where I'm going now, I really get
Mhm.
it. But the 30 days and beyond provides the ongoing mentoring
Mhm.
relationship. And quite honestly, you don't rebuild your life in 90 days. We
Sure.
know this. Those of us who have had to actually rebuild our lives and
Sure.
reinvent and start over, and I've had to do that a couple of times. And boy, when you do that a couple of times, you realize what you're made of,
Uh-huh.
you know?
I couldn't agree more. I've had to realign my identity a few times, and it's challenging, but when you come out on the other side of that, it's really freeing to know you can reinvent yourself. You can
Yes.
be something different than what you were or change certain things that you were doing. I It was really empowering to have that experience to change who I was. Because I was one thing for work at one time, and that's what defined me. I was Jessica with this
Yeah.
company, and I no longer wanted to be Jessica with this company. And I redefined what I was doing. And 10 years later, I wanted that same change. And from having that experience, I was able to. But I'm a really big fan of coaching and I'm a really big fan of accountability because you need somebody, in my opinion, that has this 360 view on what's going on. That when I'm in it and you're in the thick of it, you can't see that 360 like eagle view like you can
True.
see.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful to have a professional, especially with all of your education and your knowledge, to speak to that because it's pretty easy to get a coaching certificate. And that's dynamically different than the education that you hold and the space that you're holding for people within this coach relationship.
It's true. It's true. And I love working with people because you can help people really refind their spark, reignite that
Mm,
thing. And life has this way of kind of wearing you down. And a lot of
uh-huh.
people who are in corporate right now, particularly people who are in our age bracket,
Mhm.
are recognizing, and honestly, younger people too, the corporation. doesn't care about you. The
Hmm.
corporation will lay you off in an instant. And it's a
Hmm.
really, really disconcerting thing. And a lot of these corporations are going, well, why are these young people not showing loyalty? Why are they not working extra hours?
Uh-huh.
Why are they so here today, gone tomorrow? Well, they've watched their big brothers, big sisters, and parents get laid off and then laid
Hmm.
off again and then apply and apply and apply. And a lot of these corporations are doing this data farming where they put out fake job announcements and get a bunch of stuff, then sell that information. It's really insidious
Interesting.
stuff. And what really is awful about that is that there's real victims of that. And these are people
Hmm.
out there that are putting out hundreds of job resumes and not hearing anything back.
Hmm.
It affects your self-image.
Oh,
It
oh,
affects
how could
how
it
you,
not?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really awful. But if you measure yourself not by those kinds of things, but
Hmm.
Jessica, you are a daughter of the most high earth mother. You are a daughter of the divine feminine. All of your pain, all of your sorrow, all of your joy has been given to you by a cosmic force that lives in you as this beautiful cosmic being. And when you recognize that piece of you and you recognize the divinity that just exists inside of you,
Hmm.
and you tie yourself to that kind of thing
Uh-huh.
instead of to material things that can very obviously be stripped of us very easily by processes and forces that none of us have
Hmm.
any power over. Then you're really unstoppable, and
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, can you give us a couple exercises that one could do to find that like value inside? Like just everything you just said. Like, what's a quick, simple exercise to for somebody who's never thought of life like this to find
sure.
that inside rather than what we're I'm driving a BMW or I have a big house or these material things that make us feel important momentarily and
Hmm.
they're not they're fleeting when you don't have that what's the word I'm looking for, like you don't have that constitution inside and that value of who you are. How do you find that? How do you begin to find that?
Okay. So here's one technique that's really important, and anybody can do this, and that is that all of us have pain. All of us have pain somewhere. It's an emotional pain, and it comes up through anger, it comes up through aches in your body. Where in your body are you holding pain?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people do the shoulder thing. Some people have it in their chest. Some people have in their groin. They tighten up. The anxiety kind of lives there. Number one, where is it? Number two, why is it there?
Mm-hmm.
And did it come from some trauma that happened a long time ago to you that lives in that part of you for a very specific reason? And can you tell yourself you're safe, that you love yourself deeply, and that you can start relaxing those muscles and letting it go? What
Mm-hmm.
happens? Do you start feeling dysregulated when you let that go? Is that when you clench your shoulders, is that you trying to gain power and control over your situation in a very tangible way when it really doesn't do anything for you? The more that you live in that anxiety, depression, ADHD brain, or lack of focus, the less that you are seeing the opportunities that surround you because you're distracted by the pain. And
Mm-hmm.
so breathe in to those spaces with love and forgiveness for yourself. You know, uh, Christ consciousness asks us to forgive others as we
Mm-hmm.
ask them to forgive us. It's a wonderful concept. But there's also this concept of us being willing to forgive ourselves for
Mm-hmm.
things when we maybe weren't our best selves
Mm-hmm.
or old things that happened to us that are living within us. And so, can we breathe into those spaces where we hold that pain? Can we begin to forgive ourselves for things? Because that is the essence of real healing.
And is this something that you would suggest you do first thing in the morning, last thing at night, throughout the day? Like where's the standard for you feel, because I can relate to this. I feel sometimes my jaw is clenched. Why is my jaw clenched? And I do a few, mouth exercises like, "Oh, what's going on? Well, why was my jaw just clenched? Was I deep in thought about this stressful call I'm going into with a client or, what's
Yeah.
going on in my mind right now? I feel like I'm pretty aware of this, but for somebody who maybe is just coming into this line of thinking, where do you begin? Is it first thing in the morning? Is it throughout the day?
Really, quite honestly, first thing in the morning, at some point during the day, and then in the evening would be great. But oftentimes people, if you're very, very busy, and this feels like quite a commitment. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say try it in the evening when you have had your day, because oftentimes you go through our day, we're very pressured, very stressed, and at certain points during the day, we have had stressors hit us
Mm-hmm.
in those spaces. And so when did they hit you? Why did they hit you? Did something remind you of something old?
Mm-hmm.
Is why are these things hitting your pain, and where does it hurt, and how bad does it hurt today?
Mm-hmm.
And then breathe into those spaces so that you're relaxing yourself before you go to bed at night. And then keep tabs on what kind of dreams are you having? Are they kind of
Mm-hmm.
bonkers? Are they scary? Is there sleep paralysis where you're trying to fight somebody but you can't lift your arm? Because those are very frustrating dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And if these things persist, do more of this relaxing during the day. We call it kind of parts work, because you're
Mm-hmm.
relaxing a part of yourself and asking yourself, where did this pain come from? And in what way is this pain slowing you down
Mm-hmm.
from who it is that you really want to transcend into?
Yeah, no, I think I'm a big believer in this. How do I want to show up? And, how do I want to show up? Like, not just in the way that I dress, but my presentation as a whole. How do I want to show up? How do I want to be presented to other people and to the world? And I think I have definitely lost sight of that at different points through my life. And then it comes back around. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's what I was supposed to be focused on, how I show up. And that's really important to how you show up to other people, because that affects your perception of what situation you're walking into, right? And then also
Yeah.
their perception of who you are. And I try to be really mindful of that walking into with new clients, new groups of people. I'm with groups of people very often. So I'm really mindful of that, but that hasn't always been the case. And I think I know a lot of people out there that this is a new way of thinking, all the things you're suggesting. So I think a few things. Number one, I love the exercises and the practicality of this is something you can do every single day. Just these check-ins could be life-changing in themselves when you're really identifying, like, if it's in your stomach or if it's in your shoulders or if it's in your jaw and what's causing that. How do you feel about journaling? And do you feel like that's an effective way to get some of this out if you're feeling it?
It really, really is. And some people don't really enjoy it. And if something is linked to you generally not ending up doing it, it
Uh-huh.
creates a sense of failure. So if you like journaling, you should. If you're somebody who speaks well, maybe
Mm-hmm.
you use the memos on your phone, and so you record
Mm.
the voice memos on your phone,
Yeah.
and you record these things, and so that you can have a record of where you are at, and you can kind of
Uh-huh.
go back and listen to these things.
That's a great idea. I love that. Okay, what other practical tips could you give our listeners and friends with, like, pick a very common topic that comes up really often and give us some practical tips that people can, like, sink their teeth into and then also follow you, because you do all this cool stuff with meditation and retreats and a ton of cool stuff that I think people would want to be involved with if they knew where it was.
Absolutely. So, number one, and this may feel controversial, but it shouldn't be. People are getting themselves so wound up over the state of American politics right now.
Mhm.
It is a real problem because people are losing important relationships. They are losing their own sanity. They
Mhm.
are becoming so wound up that they're doing many things throughout the day that are
Mhm.
engaging themselves in
Mhm.
ideas and behavior that is distressing to themselves and others. At what point did you begin to define yourself by a political ideal? These things are not helping anybody. And so walking back from the ledge on that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because it's not helping you become a better version of yourself. It's something that we really need to take a breather from right now and recognize in what ways each one of us might be overstepping with
Mm-hmm.
actions, behaviors, and thoughts that are decreasing our overall mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So I do therapy, I do work with ketamine, I do retreats in my mountain house up here in the Sierra Nevadas to help people really delve deep into their consciousness. I do these coaching relationships with people to help people get where they are in a very tailored and unique approach, working directly with people. And people can find me at mindfulmutiny.com and listen to
You
my
are
podcast, the Mindful Mutiny Podcast.
You are easy to find. And I was just talking about this with our shared team. And he was saying you pull up mindful and it's like you pop right up. I love that. I couldn't agree more with what you were saying. And I find I have conversations 2 to 4 times a day about this. And
Yes,
my answer is always like, I'm looking for reasons to unify. I am not looking for reasons to divide. I guarantee we have things in common. We probably have things that are not in common. I'm looking for the
sure.
reasons to unify, and I always want to go into every opportunity and conversation with a really open mind. And if I don't have an open mind, I can't see your perspective. My mind has not been made up about I feel this way because to be open-minded, I have to be open to all of these other points of view. And if I already have my mind made up, especially if I express that viewpoint, you don't really get to know the vulnerabilities of the other person and their viewpoints. So I'm reminded of that. And I feel like I do a pretty good job of that because I've been on this page for a long time. But I feel like I have this conversation. Yesterday, it was multiple times that I was stopped because I drive a Tesla, and that's controversial right now. And I have a big rainbow on my hood of my car. Again, controversial. And so I get flipped off a lot, but I
Mm.
also get a lot of people that I stop at the grocery store and they go, "That's so cool!" Like, why, And I said, "Hey, my feeling is, as a believer, our job is to love everyone and to love equally. Like that's my job. That's what I'm
Mm.
called to do. On As a human on this earth, I feel like that's my purpose, right? So I want to make
Yes.
sure that that's what I'm doing and that's what I'm representing, and that leads to it is the best conversation starter lately. I just ignore the people that flip me off. I figure you must not have anything else to worry about. If this is what's like really messed up your hour on Folsom Auburn Road, kudos to you because you must not have any other problems, right? But it's been this great conversation starter with people from different walks of life that I wouldn't have had conversations with without this. So I'm looking for these reasons to unify and find things that we have in common with strangers every day. And since this has been such a conversation starter, it's started the wheels turning with like, what else could I do that would be a good conversation starter? Because that's what I'm looking for. I like creating relationships, much like you. Like I'm a relationship person and I want to connect people. I want to be a conduit to connect people to the things and the people that they need. I think that's what we're all here for.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. And for the person who really lives on relationships, and that is
Uh-huh.
the entrepreneur, that is the small business person,
Mm-hmm.
that's the nonprofit person, and when you are espousing a specific ideology in a manner that is I'm right and you're wrong,
Right.
you're losing out on money because people are hearing that
100%. Yeah.
and they're walking the other way. They don't want to associate with you. They don't want to donate to you. They don't want to do business with you. And it's all because of your big fat mouth. Shut up. And think about what's important in
Mhm.
this life. And it's not being right about
Yeah.
everything. It's about being in community with other people, understanding where other people are coming from.
Hmm. No, I love that. I couldn't agree more. And now that I know you're doing retreats in the mountains, I would love to come. So I need a date for this so we can push it out to everybody. Because I was thinking as you were talking, how I met you is because I had a house in the mountains, close to you
Yes.
in the mountains, and I had two special needs children, one that couldn't walk and one that couldn't talk, and I would take them out one by one to the middle of the street, just carrying them so they could see the stars, which are so amazing in the mountains.
Yes.
There's no light pollution. It's literally the most amazing thing. And so I walked out and you came up and said, "Oh, hey neighbor, I just wanted to see if you needed firewood." And I'm like, what an amazing neighbor. And I said, "Oh, this is Jackson. He can't walk." He said, "That's okay. What's going on?" I put him down. I grabbed Little Bear. I said, "This Little Bear, he can't talk." He said, "That's okay." And I thought, just your attitude that came through so quickly with I like just accepting of everyone, because I think there's a lot of people that get squeamish and don't know how to react
Mm,
when I'm like, I have a child in a wheelchair. I have a child that's nonverbal. I think
mm.
that's not everybody is on the same page, and just your like open attitude right away of like, that's all right, like moving
Oh,
right on.
thank you.
What are we doing? Looking at the stars? Do you have firewood? I think we've lost that sense of community that I that's something I love about the mountains, just this sense of community where in the city where I currently live, you pass by your neighbors, you might say hi, and that's the end of it. No one's checking on you. Like, did your power go out? Do you need a generator? Do you have firewood? Did you see the moon last night? It's just a very different lifestyle, I think. And the feeling that you have with your neighbors and your community, just deeper roots within your community.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I'm really longing for, and that I feel like a lot of people on this planet right now are really longing for. And I think
Yes.
that's where this, like, here's my idea, who wants to be part of my group, comes from, when really it should be this unifying, like, hey, we all love the stars. We all need firewood. We all need to come together and love one another. How do you do that? Like, how do you start that movement within your own community? How did you do this?
I just simply know when to keep my mouth shut. And that every single person has something that they need to be encouraged in. And every single person needs plain talk. And
Mhm.
every single person needs to understand that they have a spirit that is beyond their problems. And if I can speak into that, then I can really connect with anybody.
I love that. I love that. So I think as I check time, I think what we need to do is link all of your things that you have up and coming, the retreats, your meditation, any group stuff you have going, and something else that you just recently did. And I meant to jump on quicker was connecting all of these entrepreneurs that are all running podcasts and a lot of cool stuff online so that we could come together and share information and share, co-hosting with other professionals. So if somebody's listening to this and they run, I don't know, XYZ, and they're like, this could be a great fit, how would somebody reach out to you to join what you're already doing with this movement of getting people together?
Jeremy at jeremyvanwert.com is the best way to kind of start. And we can
Uh-huh.
set up you can go to mindfulmutiny.com and set up a consultation with me, and we can just talk about anything and ideas and how to work together and everything.
I love that. I love that. Well, I think I want to make this a regular thing with you on, because you have such insights, and I think we could take up 100 different topics that I think all of my friends would really enjoy having conversations about. And I'm especially interested in all of the work that you're doing that you talked about at the beginning, not just the ketamine, but kind of controversial stuff that I'm very interested in myself. I haven't had the actual experience, but I've read several books about it and I'm very curious about it. I have a ton of questions about it. So I'd love to get into all of that stuff. And then I'd love for our audience, if you have questions or you really want to know more about a specific topic, to throw it in the comments or send a DM to either one of us so that we can make our next appearance together more for whatever people want to know more about. If they want to know more about ketamine, which I think is very interesting, or they want to know more about the retreats that you're doing, or more about podcasting and sharing this with other professionals.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate
Absolutely. Well, no, you're giving me goals with your background and all your very
it.
professional background. I love it. I can't wait. So we'll have to do this again. So tell everybody again where we can find you.
Jeremy at jeremyvanwert.com. Go to mindfulmutiny.com, and that's where all of my programs, you can see services, and you can schedule a time to just chat with me.
Oh, I love that. Okay, thanks so much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
All right, you too. Should be a stop button at the bottom of the screen.
I know there is, I just cannot find it. Let's see. I found it to begin with. Pause. Oh, stop.